Hello! What's going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and welcome back to a channel where I talk about Error Pokemon cards. I have been uploading consistently for 36 weeks. Last week I did not upload, or I did, I just didn't talk about the cards because I got really busy, and I feel rusty. It's weird, but I am excited to be back. Now let's get right into this week's episode. Starting things off, we're going to turn up that bass a little bit. Here we have a Abra from Team Rocket set with that fat bottom miscut. And if you don't know, I play the fat bottom music every time I see a fat bottom miscut. This is a cool one. So CGC 9 sold for $49.99. Now, I don't know too much. This seems a little low, but I know this isn't really that big of a chase card. But it does have an alignment dot on the bottom left corner and the bottom left and right corner on the back of the card. Interesting. Okay. But yeah, cool card, and the error value increase was 373% this week. Next up, we have a Mew EX from Paldean Fates, and this is a missing texture error, and it sold for $2,000. What the heck? That is crazy. I saw that, I was like, that's gotta be something wrong with this. But it turns out that this is a missing texture error. So you have an already expensive card with a expensive error that really doesn't pop up too often. You combine those together and you get $2,000 for a modern Pokemon card. Holy cow. Now, error value increase is 257%. That doesn't sound that crazy, but this error added $1,440. That's a lot. That is a freaking lot. Holy cow. Me no good at modern errors, but when you see the left image and the middle image there, you can really see the texture missing on the left card, and middle card is what it should look like. So this is a cool comparison. This is why I like doing this, because it makes it easier to see the errors. So yes, holy cow, that's a lot of money. Play the fat bottom music again. Here we have a Flaffy. This is from Secret Wonders, and this is a reverse hollow, and it's got that fat bottom miscut. I think this is fatter than the last one, actually. Either way, this one sold for $45 this week and had an EVI of 291%. It's a neat one. Okay, next up we got another big dog. So I believe this, I talked about it a few weeks ago. The seller sold it, but then I think the buyer fell through. But now here it is again, sold in auction. It sold for $1,300. Here we have a base set Clefairy with the black dot error. This is a repeating error, and the big black dot is under Sing there, and it covers up the N and the O of now. This got graded a CGC Pristine 10. I believe that is as perfect as you can get in the CGC world. And this sold, as I said, in auction for $1,300. Wow. I reached out to the seller ahead of the video just to see if this sold. I also asked them if they are the same Deep Pocket Monster from YouTube. If you don't know, that's a very popular Pokemon YouTube channel. They do a fantastic job, and they did not respond to me. So maybe it is because larger YouTube channels are typically busier and they don't have time to respond to many people. I don't know. Either way, that's a lot of money. I feel like I always turn Italian when it's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Because it is. EVI of 253%. Not crazy, but again, that's a lot of money, as I keep freaking saying. Wow. On to the next card. Next up, we have one that I had never seen before. This is a TV reporter trainer card. And the error is it's not supposed to be a reverse hollow. That is what I put in the description here. This is actually the description from the seller. And yeah, apparently it was not supposed to be like that. And supposedly it's worth a decent amount because a PSA 6 trainer card sold for $200. Again, not a crazy high EVI, but it's cool to see. One I've never seen before, and I was like informing the public, the viewers here, because you might have this, or maybe you could find it on eBay when someone doesn't know it's an error, and that makes for a fun time.
Well, I have some of the yellow, and don't get cheap on me.
And don't get cheap on me. Can I have a little bit of that yellow ink? So it looks like there's a yellow ink error, additional ink error on this Imposter's Oak Revenge card. One I've never seen. It's very interesting how that got placed on there. Just on the left side of the card, I believe that's yellow ink. I don't know. Either way. So this sold for $56 this week. Average non-error price is $2.28. And so the error value increase is 2,356%. That's good enough for number 10 this week. We got a strong ass week, people. Let's go. So next up we have a Greninja EX, and this is from Scarlet and Violet Stellar Crown. And this is a severe miscut. You can see it's shifted to the right, so a part of the card's cut off and it's got another card on the left there. And this is, what would this be? What artwork is this? So it's an EX card, so you can see it really doesn't sell for that much on its own, $1.84. But when you miscut it like this, it sells for $66.37. That's a lot, especially for auction. So it looks like they listed it for $99.99 Australian, and then one person bid on it and sold for a lot. I think this is like I typically say just do best offer price, but listing it for a higher amount than you think it's going to sell for, or the minimum you think it's going to sell for, and then having someone bid on it might be the way to go too. I don't know, because it gets in front of more eyes when it's an auction. Either way, error value increase is 3,507%. And that's good enough for number 8 this week. Ooh, next up we have a CGC 8.5 Ghoststamp Pikachu. So this is a first edition Pikachu with the Ghoststamp error, which is a repeating error. If you don't know, the D and the 1 in first edition is missing. It's a very, very sought after error. Only the coolest of people have them. Very unique and sells for a lot. So this one, again, CGC 8.5, sold for $550. Now, average non-error price for an 8.5 Pikachu is $200. So that's still a lot because this is a first edition Pikachu, the first English Pikachu ever made. So that is why it sells for as much as it does. And average price from price charting for a Ghoststamp is $720 for an 8.5. Just, you know, split the difference between 8 and a 9. So this actually had sold for less than it should have, but I don't know. Again, price charting can be off, and also some of these sales can be from a long time ago. So I think $550 sounds about right. You can see a couple of the recent sales there. We have a Ghoststamp PSA 2 sold for $225, and a PSA 6 sold for $250, is that? $260. So it shows that price charting can be off. Now you may be wondering, Matt, why you're talking so much about Ghoststamp Pikachu? Well, your boy is a freaking deal hunter. I'm a hawk. I got eyes like a hawk. I'm not a hawk. And I got one. I got one for $12. There was a lot of Pokemon cards with a very low quality photo. And I think they were selling the whole lot for 16 bucks. And I said, hey, I would love to just buy that Pikachu from you. Would you take 12? You know, I still want to give them a good deal on it too. And they accepted, and boy, wouldn't you know it, Ghoststamp Pikachu. Mine for $12. Latest raw I saw was a really, really bad condition, like really folded and the back was really beat to hell. Sold for about $90. This one's not in good shape. I should say that right now. You see there's some fraying, it's folded and everything. But a PSA 2 sold for $225. So the error value increase, or the value you get from it, I don't know. Look at that, gosh. I'm excited. That's all I'm trying to say. I love hunting deals. I love finding deals. I love searching for Pokemon cards and finding errors when they are not listed as them. And this is probably the coolest one I've found to date. So I'm very excited. And I am just adding onto my collection. So I always want to share with you when I find fun stuff like that. And yeah, let's get on to the next one. Okay, next up, this is a special one, and I will elaborate on that. So here we have an Articuno from Fossil Set. This is a non-holo, and you can see there's a big white dot there. So this is an additional ink error. I don't know how exactly that got there, but the reason this is so special, the seller put in the description, please bid with 0.22 at the end. And that is something I have been pushing for a while, because when I search through eBay trying to find these listings and find the cool cards, I want to see if one ends with 22, which means one of my viewers is actively selling or buying on eBay. Now you can see the winner actually ended their bid in 69, so that's pretty darn close, but I think just for the effort of having them try to end it with 22 makes me so happy. And so shout out to this seller, thank you so much. If you comment on this video, I will send you an error card for free. I'll send you a cool one, just as a thank you, because this seriously, these videos take a while to make, and to just see something like that, it really, really makes me happy. This is the first time it's happened, so if you are buying or selling on eBay, end your bid with 22 cents, and I don't know what will happen. I'll be very happy. So thank you so much for this seller. Enough about that now. So they sold this card for $76.69 with an error value increase of 1,302%. Now, as I said, this is a very strong week, so not in the top 10. But again, this one holds a special place in my heart. So thank you so much. Next up, we have one that was hard to find. So here we have a Dreepy. So I've never heard of the Pokemon. It's from Fusion Arts. Never heard of the set. It's Korean, so it's very hard to find the card. And this is just a crazy miscut. So this is called a 90-degree rotated miscut. You can see it looks like essentially the cutting machine thought that the card should be like, I'm not even going to be able to it's basically rotated 90 degrees. It's like a square dimension with 2 right angles and 2 rounded corners. The reason I'm saying all this is why it's so hard to find. This was the only Pokemon card I could find when I searched for it, for the non-error card. It looks like it's like a different shade too, so I don't know if the white balance was off when someone was taking the photo, but this was a hard card to find, and boy, because this was a CGC 5, I guessed it would be $5 for an average non-error price. I really don't know. I knew this wasn't going to be in the top 10, so I just took a stab at it. But yeah, this crazy, crazy miscut sold for $50. Pretty incredible. I don't think I've seen a rotated miscut before. Sorry, a perfectly 90 degrees rotated miscut. You always see them kind of wonky one way or the other. But to see it like this is pretty darn cool. This is a cool one as well. You see the theme? I show cool Pokemon cards. This is a Gem Mint 10, PSA 10, Shadowless Vulpix with the blue butt error. So this, or they call it the blue dot error. I like the blue butt error better. There's additional blue ink on Vulpix's butt, and this is a repeating error. And this is the first time I've seen a PSA 10 of this card. It sold for $800 freaking dollars. Non-first edition, non-holo, basic Pokemon selling for $800. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't even know what to say, really. It's very unique. It's a lot of money. And you can see the error value increase is 1,100%. That's a lot. So if you don't know, the higher you go up on a grade, or the higher you go up for a grade, the typically lower the error value increase is going to be, just because as it goes up, both prices go up exponentially, and so it's kind of hard to get that ratio because you have to compare the non-error price to the error price, and so they're typically both a lot higher and they kind of get closer together. So to have 2 PSA 10s with an error value increase of 1,100%, that's pretty special. You don't see that too often. Again, not in the top 10, but a very interesting card to see. The only thing rare would to see the first edition Vulpix in a PSA 10, but I don't think we've even seen a first edition Blue Butt Vulpix. It says here in the description, it's notably more rare, and I would say so because I don't believe I've seen one in the 36 weeks I've been doing this. So that would like break the freaking internet. No, it wouldn't. It might break my mind for a couple minutes if I saw that. I hope I see it soon. If you have one, please sell it. I'd love to talk about it. Next up, I'm a simple man. This is just a plain old printer hickey. If you don't know, what that is basically a piece of debris gets in between the card and the printing press, and it gets on there, and it always leaves kind of a cool mark on the card. some parts of the card, or it's just certain ink, sometimes can leave cooler imprints than others. And it's usually in the artwork, I think, where it usually leaves kind of a cooler, so it can leave like multicolor. Sometimes it's just like a black dot or something, but sometimes it leaves multicolors, and that is the case here with this Ponyta. You can see it's in the upper right corner of the art box, and it's pretty decent sized, and it's placed in a spot where it's visible enough, which means that's why it sold for as much as it did. I've gotten in arguments before with people on Facebook, as you typically do, and they said printer hickeys add no value, ever. And I was like, well, that's wrong. That's just typically wrong. No, that's absolutely wrong all the time. And so here's just another case of why I am right. This sold for $25. Average non-era price is $1.58, and so the EVI is 1,482. And that's not top 10. Boy, we've only had one of the top 10 so far. But very interesting card. And I think we're going to have a crazy second half of this video because there's going to be a lot of top 10s in there. Next up, here's another big dog sale. It's a Houndoom, so it's a dog. Here we have a first edition Houndoom with the double hollow variant, and this got graded a PSA 9. That's a lot of big dogs right there. First edition Houndoom, PSA 9, $4,000. That's at least 4 big dogs right there. And here's the fifth. This is incredible. So first look at the description here. It says, notably, the variants are usually more rare in first editions. And so that's why you see the high price. And it's a PSA 9. That's where it's like, this is one where, you know, price is pretty good going up the grade scale. And then you get to 9, and that's kind of where the big jump happens. Then obviously PSA 10 is where the huge jump happens. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Average non-error price is $465. So this error added $3,000 and about $400 of value. EVI of 760. So as I explained before, to have a high grade like this, have a high EVI like that, it's incredible. It's pretty cool. So love talking about this, and yeah, big dog. Going on to the next one now. So next up we have a Marnie's Pride. This is a card from Brilliant Stars, and this is a missing hollow layer. I don't know what is more rare, a missing hollow layer or a missing print layer, but I believe missing hollow layer just due to the number of dollars that were thrown at this one. This sold for $285, and you can see it typically goes for around $11 for a grade 7. So really doesn't happen too much, and now that I'm thinking back, I remember seeing other cards like this with the missing hollow layer, and they sold for a lot too. So that's pretty neat. Oh, I put missing texture layer, it's missing hollow layer. Ignore that, but yeah. Not much more to say about that. I don't know too much about the card, but clearly this is a very rare error, and I think CGC was the best choice for this because they do recognize errors like this. And error value increase of 2,491%. That's number 9 this week. And don't be fooled, I'm not going in order. This is completely random. It just happens to be that I talked about 10 and now 9. Oh, wait, I talked about... Never mind. I'm cutting that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Ooh, here we go. So next up we have a base set 2 energy card. This is a fighting energy card, and this is an inverted and miscut back. Sorry, inverted and misaligned back. So miscut would be the front and the back are miscut in the same way. Misaligned is where only the back side is kind of wonky. And that is the case here. So this one was listed for $99.95, and this sold for $75. When you gonna see a basic energy sell for $75? Right here, right now. And also, one thing to note, you can see the alignment dot on the back of the card there, and it looks like there's a little bit more of a circle there. So I've seen this before where on hollow shifts, the alignment dot looks like this, but it's actually not perfectly centered in there. So I think there's something to this because you don't see alignment dots like that all the time. Typically it's just white on the back of the card. So there's definitely something else off in the printing process besides just a misalignment, because alignment dots don't typically look like that. So that is another reason why this card is so special. This is a very cool one. Infernos Games always does a fantastic job. It has an error value increase of 6,844%. And by golly, that's good enough for number 4 this week on our list of EVI. 6,844 is number 4. I'm treating y'all well this week. I think I am. I hope you enjoy these. Okay, so I may talk about cards a lot, but sometimes, most of the times, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm getting better. I don't know what additional ink this has. Please let me know in the comments. So this is in a Zoomer roll from EX Team Rocket Returns. Got graded a Gem Mint 10 for CGC. Has that error label. It says additional ink. And for the life of me, I don't know. I think cards of this era, it's usually like whitening in the hollow, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. So please let me know if you are more informed than me, which is probably about 90% of the viewers here. But I do know 2 things. More than 2, but on this one. Sold for $750 and it sold in auction, so there's 1 bidder on it. And that's a lot of money. Also, I've been meaning to talk about this. I don't like when, sometimes I'm just hard pressed for time, so I just grab whatever photo is good, but why would you cut the corners off of a photo for the non-error card here? I don't like when people do that on eBay. I don't like when they do it on price charting, and I threw it in here just so I could talk about it. So don't do that. I want to see the corners as they are. Cut to Cousin Eddie again.
I'll have some of the yellow.
Gotta get some of that yellow. So here we have a Vanillite from Paradox Rift, and this is an additional ink error. And like Cousin Eddie said, it's that yellow ink. Boy, that was just peppered and sprinkled all over there. That was really rolled on there, and it stuck. And yeah, it didn't sell for a lot either. This is one where I think listing it as a best accepted offer price would be the best way to go. Looks like they started the bidding at $30 and 1 person bid on it. So we got these people who are just looking at these different auctions, and it must not just get shown to enough people. And so people are kind of getting away with a lot here. So kudos to the buyer. You got a very interesting, probably a 1 of 1 card here. EVI, not crazy, again, because it didn't sell for very high. I just took a stab in the dark at what grade 7 would be. I chose $7 because it's a grade 7, but I think that's about right. And yeah, unique card, and didn't sell for as much as it should have. Alright, next up we have a first edition Pinsir from Jungle Set. This is a hollow card, and this is the scratch error. Another error that PSA recognizes. They don't recognize too many, but when they do, it's always neat. And this one, the error is there is a scratch right above the first edition symbol, and it reveals some of the hollow beneath the card. So very unique, and if you get a chance to look at it up close, I'm sorry I didn't show it here. If editor Matt has the RNG, I'll throw a picture up. But yeah, it's a very unique error. It's very cool how it's shaped. It's very angular, and a very, very neat repeating error. And that helped this card sell for $300 this week. Not a crazy high EVI, but $300 for a Pokemon card is pretty neat, and you know I love repeating errors. I think it's just one of the coolest things in the world. Next up we have a Graveler from Crown Zenith, and this is an inverted and misaligned back error. So there's inverted errors on just about every Pokemon set ever. All the way from base set through 2024 cards. They're there, and they say inverted back, but it's actually typically it's the inverted front, because the back is printed first. And so if you're there first, then if an error happens after that, it's that person's fault. It's the front's fault. Don't know why I'm saying all this. But yeah, very unique error. It's always cool to see these modern or vintage. And sold for $40, and the error value increase was 3,855%. And that's good enough for number 7 this week. Still recording? Hell yeah. Alright, next up we have a Gossifleur. French, I think. And this is a severe miscut. You can see another card on the top there. A blue card. I don't know what it would be. A water card of some sort, obviously. I sound like a moron. And this sold for $80. So this is a modern Pokemon card selling for $80 that really has no right to if it's not an error, and obviously it would never would, but because of this severe miscut, sold for $80, as I said, probably for the 5th time. And the error value increase is 7,899%. That's a lot. That's actually number 2 this week. You see this is a very top-heavy miscut, probably would score well in class and schools, and see alignment dot in the top right and the back left. And I gotta call out the seller for a second because I took a... Oh yeah, so another thing I had to deal with this week. So eBay had an issue this week where you could click on a sold listing and it wouldn't take you to the sold listing, it would take you to a similar one, and there's no way around it. Well, I found a way around it. I had to go on the eBay app on my iPad, and so that is why the sold listing where it says like the sale number looks different from for some of these, because I had to go through a bunch of them. But because I took exact screenshots of 2 of these different listings, I could tell that this seller used the same exact back photo for these 2 listings here. So for the Glossifleur and also the more Pico. So yeah, because I was flipping through the 2 on my iPad. I was like, wait, those look exactly similar, and it did not move at all. So I'm on to you. Either way, congrats on the sale. They sold us more Pico for $79.99 as well. So a very cool card, same miscut, but they didn't bother taking 2 separate photos of the back of the card. Nothing gets past this guy. Yeah, and despite all my rambling, this card sold for $80, and typically it goes to around $1.84, so it goes for a little bit more than the Gossifleur, and the EVI is 4,247%. And that's good enough for number 6 this week. We have an Electric, and this is a holy cow severe miscut. It's missing about 40% of the card, so you can see we got some rounded corners on the left there, and some right angle square corners on the right. We got a couple alignment dots, and I don't know, is that edge of sheet on the back of the card, or is that just like... I don't know. So yeah, this is one of the more extreme miscuts that you will see, and that is why it sold for $71. A modern Pokemon card that, again, has no real business selling for this much. If you're good at noticing things, you'll notice I put average non-error price is $1, but price charting says it's 85 cents. I just say the floor is $1, because you gotta ship the card, and sometimes the price charting will have a card listed for like 17 cents. It's like you can't ship anything for 17 cents. So I think $1 is fair. So with that, we have very round numbers. We have an EVI of 7,000% for this pretty severe holy cow miscut. And that's good enough for number 3 this week. Next up, we have an ink error, or a missing ink error, or an additional ink error on this Weedle. This Weedle is from Neo Discovery, and you can see the left side of the card is coloring blue when it should be green. That's awesome. I think this buyer got a steal. $18 seems like a good price for this. Maybe it's about right. I don't know, but I would happily pay $18 for this card. And I threw a little graphic up above me here. Though a mix of magenta and cyan gives you a blue color. So there are some people who are so good at this, they can look at that card and like, oh yeah, that's missing the cyan ink, or that's additional magenta ink, or whatever the hell it is. I'm not good at that. So if you know, let me know. Otherwise, keep the knowledge to yourself, you jerk. No matter how it happened, this card sold for $18 and EVI of just under 1,000%. This one blew my mind a little bit. So this is a Lycanroc Vmax, and you can see it's pretty severely miscut. It's shifted to the right. You got probably 10% of another card on the left there attached to it, and this sold for $500. I don't know if the seller is just a marketing genius because they followed my advice, list it for more than you think it's going to sell for. They listed it for $550. A buyer with deep pockets came along, spent $500 on this, got $50 off, and feeling pretty good about themselves. And I would too if I had $500 to spend on a raw Pokemon card. Kudos to you, buyer. And Yeah, its average non-error price is $7.45. So we got a 6,611% EVI on this card, and it sold for $500. I'm shocked by that. That's incredible. Yeah, I don't know if just you don't see Vmax's miscut as much, but you don't see that exponential of an EVI typically. But I guess you do for this one. So how cool, what a privilege to talk about it, and that's pretty crazy. Not much more to say about that. Let's get on to the last card. So here we have a card I talked about before. Look above me, this sold on September 21st, 2024, but it sounds like unfortunately the buyer fell through. Back then they had listed it for $80, best accepted offer price of $75, but this story has a happy ending. They listed this card again for $175, and the best accepted offer price came through of $120. So they waited a couple of months, but they got an extra $40-50 bucks. So I'm happy for them, and typically I don't talk about cards twice, but it's my show, damn it, and I'll do what I want. If you don't know, Miscut Japanese cards are hard to find. They have extremely good quality control, and you'll be hard-pressed to find an error like this, typically. And so that's why it sold for $120 freaking dollars for a water energy card. It's very cool to see the back of the card. You can see it's not just like a typical Pokemon card where it's just like a big yellow or a big strip on the top. There's like actually the start of the top of a card, because like the back of the card is so unique for Japanese cards. And also it's got that like goldish hue on the front of the card for the border, and so you can see the exact line there between the two. Typically that would just be a big yellow blob on the top. So all of that to say, this card sold for a lot of money. The average non-error price is low, $1.03, and that gives us an 11,550% error value increase and #1 this week. I don't have many words, so I'm just going to let Michael Scott cover it for me.
Do I need to be liked? Absolutely not. I like to be liked. I enjoy being liked. I have to be liked. But it's not like this compulsive need to be liked, like my need to be praised.
That's right. I love to be liked. I don't need to be liked, but I have to be liked. All that to say, appreciate all the kind words from everyone. The support is overwhelming. Sometimes these videos are hard to make. There's just a lot of effort put into them. And so when I get comments and feedback and likes and just messages, it's lovely. So thank you so much for the continued support. I had fun making this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend if you're watching this right away. If you're watching some other time, hopefully the weekend's coming up soon, because wouldn't that be fun? Goodbye. 43 minutes, ain't bad.